Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I am so thrilled you're here today because we're going to unpack something that is incredibly relatable, yet honestly highly misunderstood. Have you ever started reading a brand new book, or maybe you just fired up this highly anticipated new TV show, and almost immediately you feel this overwhelming, undeniable urge to skip straight to the end just to see how the whole shebang finishes? Well, if you're nodding your head right now, trust me, you are definitely not alone. It's this universally debated habit. People argue about it at book clubs, on social media, literally in living rooms everywhere. So today, we're going to break down exactly what is happening inside your brain when you reach for that final page. Okay, let's dive into this. To outsiders, this habit is just baffling. They look at you and wonder, why on earth would you intentionally ruin the ending for yourself? I mean, from the outside looking in, skipping ahead just looks like mere impatience, right? It kind of looks like you have a short attention span, or maybe that you just have this bad habit of ruining a perfectly good surprise. It's so often dismissed as a weird quirk that strips all the fun out of a beautifully crafted narrative. But what if I told you that the skeptics have it completely wrong? Because here's the twist, and this is where the science gets really fascinating. Skipping to the end is absolutely not impatience. According to psychology, this behavior is actually a learned pattern. It's a highly specific psychological blueprint that your mind actively uses to navigate stress. Think about that. Your brain isn't just feeling to pay attention. It's actually executing a brilliant, subconscious strategy to manage how you experience the world. You're seeking out the ending before you really begin because, at the end of the day, your mind is just working to protect you. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the formal clinical concept behind all of this, narrative anticipation. This is the absolute core of it all. It's defined as removing uncertainty to calm the nervous system before investing emotional energy. Just pause and think about that for a second. Your nervous system is basically a highly tuned alarm system. When you approach a new story, you're being asked to invest your very real emotions into these fictional characters and plots without knowing if that investment is going to pay off or if it's just going to leave you totally devastated. By spoiling the ending, you're effectively turning off your body's alarm system. You're pre-soothing your nervous system so that you can actually engage with the story safely. Section 1. The need for control and certainty. Look, fundamentally, your brain absolutely hates unfinished answers. In the realm of psychology, it's a well-known fact that the mind deeply struggles when things feel unclear. Unfinished answers create this weird mental friction. When a story's outcome is entirely unknown, your brain refuses to just sit back and relax. Instead, it goes into overdrive, constantly searching for certainty. Finding the ending gives your mind the exact closure it desperately craves. So by skipping ahead, you're actively removing the deep mental discomfort of uncertainty that the author deliberately built into the narrative. You're effectively saying to your brain, hey, it's okay. I have the answers. You can rest now. Let's see how this builds across a three-step psychological pipeline. Step 1 is the unpredictable plot. The author throws a wild curveball, creating total chaos. Step 2 is the direct result of that, uncertainty and stress. That unpredictable plot literally spikes your cortisol levels. But then we reach step 3. By skipping to the end, you establish a known outcome. Boom, you instantly reclaim control. You're taking the unpredictable, wild chaos of a suspenseful narrative and deliberately transforming it into something manageable. And honestly, we find deep comfort in that control.
Moving on to section 2, emotional self-defense.
We actively protect ourselves from tension. And a great way to visualize this is by talking about mental clutter. Imagine a room just completely filled with physical clutter. Piles of paper everywhere, clothes on the floor, boxes stacked up to the ceiling. Just standing in that room makes you feel overwhelmed, right? Well, unresolved issues and intense suspense do the exact same thing to your brain. They create mental clutter. This generates a low-level tension and a sort of mental pressure that sits like a heavy weight on your shoulders while you're reading. Knowing the ending acts like a broom. It sweeps away all that mental clutter, providing your brain with this quiet, profound sense of relief. By removing the pressure of the destination, you free yourself up to genuinely relax and enjoy the actual journey of the book. Now, I want to slow down for a moment here because this next point is really profound. If you grew up in an environment that felt unstable, or if you've experienced periods of deep unpredictability in your real life, your mind may have literally rewired itself to predict loss. It becomes a survival mechanism. Your brain started preparing for endings that haven't even happened yet. So when you skip to the last page of a novel, it's actually a way for your brain to rehearse situations. You want to know if a beloved character dies or if things go terribly wrong, so you aren't caught off guard emotionally. You are rehearsing the grief or even the joy so that you feel prepared and way less stressed when that moment actually arrives in the story.
And this brilliantly illustrates two very different ways people approach narratives. On the left side, we have chasing excitement, the classic roller coaster. These are the people who want the stomach-dropping suspense, the sudden twists, the shock factor. But on the right, we have chasing safety, which prioritizes consistency. Psychology shows us that when people experience instability in life, their brain strongly prioritizes consistency over intensity. When you skip to the end, you are proving that you don't actually want to chase the unpredictable excitement of a roller coaster. You want the flat, reliable, predictable road of safety.
So, the crucial point here is captured perfectly in this quote from the source material. Knowing the ending provides a consistent, safe emotional experience. Take a second to really absorb that. A spoiled story isn't a ruined story. To a brain that craves stability, a spoiled story becomes a safe haven. It's a world where you already know the rules, you know the outcome, and absolutely no one can jump out and surprise you with emotional pain. Section 3. Escaping the loop. One massive, undeniable benefit of reading ahead is how it stops the overthinking loop. If you're someone who constantly imagines what might go wrong in real life, well, you know exactly what an overthinking loop feels like. It is incredibly draining. If a story is too suspenseful, your brain will start applying that exact same real-world anxiety to the fictional plot. You'll start constantly analyzing every little clue, worrying about the characters, and imagining worst-case scenarios. That constant analysis drains your mental energy so fast. By reading the ending, you bypass the need to overthink the plot altogether. You essentially short-circuit the anxiety, completely preventing the mental exhaustion that the unknown would normally cause. And finally, Section 4, the empathy shift. If you take away anything from this explainer today, please let it be this. Your reading habits are not a character flaw. It's not just about being impatient. We really have to recontextualize this so-called bad habit as a mirror of our coping mechanisms. This behavior is simply a reflection of how your mind learned to handle the world. When you finally understand these patterns, you can start looking at your own behavior with a genuine sense of self-compassion rather than self-criticism. Your brain is just doing its job. It's trying to keep you safe, comfortable, and emotionally secure. So I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. The next time you reach for the end of a book or you catch yourself fast-forwarding to the last 10 minutes of that movie, ask yourself, how did your mind learn to handle the world? What safety are you actually looking for in those final pages? It's a profoundly deep question that really changes the way we see ourselves. If you found this dive into the human mind fascinating, be sure to subscribe for more real psychology explainers just like this one. Because once you start understanding these hidden patterns, you will absolutely never see your everyday behavior the same way again. Thanks so much for joining.